Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Black Logic. I know that it's very early. I go live between like 8 a.m. to 9 a.m., but I am not home. I'm actually in a different country here, and I want to give you guys just a quick peek there. I don't know if you guys can see this city skyline there. Hopefully, you can enjoy that from your distance. That is what I'm looking at currently. That is my current city that I am, and I will reveal that later. I'm probably give some hints along the way. But without further haste, let's get right into the news because the Trump administration has deported over 250 alleged gang members, primarily from the Venezuelan group Trende Aragua. And I've reported on this many times before, but they have been deported to El Salvador. Now, this move, despite a federal judge order to halt deportations, the administration invoked the Enemies Act. So we have all these legislations to protect us from illegal immigration that they're now bringing to light. But this particular legislation is called the Enemies Act, a law that is from 1798. And to justify these actions, upon arrival, these individuals were placed in El Salvador's notorious terrorism confinement center, which is a facility known for its harsh conditions. Now, this raises significant questions about the balance of power between the executive branch and the judicial branch, as well as concerns about human rights given the conditions of the detention facilities in El Salvador. And this is just one of the things that Donald Trump has spoke about that he was going to do with the harsh criminals that were illegal immigrants, as well as Tom Homan, who recently appeared on the Stephen A. Smith show and really gave us a good breakdown of the way they're tackling not only illegal immigration, but child trafficking as well. Don't forget that illegal immigration does involve child trafficking, drug trafficking, and a lot of things that probably hasn't come to light because the volume is low. But again, with illegal immigration, regardless of the amount of illegal immigrants that are conducting crime, the risk and the amount of crime, the level of crimes, the level of heinous crimes that they're committing is very, very high as well. But again, I'll keep you guys updated. Now, shifting gears to the trade relations. Now, President Trump, no less, has announced plans to impose a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods entering the United States. Now, I know that Trump says he and Putin would discuss land and power plants in Ukraine, which is very, very important because, again, there's more at stake here. And I know that one of my graphics here, they're cutting off. But again, they want me to pay. That's not happening. There we go. My apologies. But nonetheless, they're having these talks because it's important because this is all over Ukraine and the land that Russia has already taken. But nonetheless, that 25% tariff probably will be more enacted on Canada after, again, another extension or the decrease of that tariff altogether. And those are things that we're going to really, really pay attention to. Now, when you see the current story, President Trump is expected to speak with Russian President Putin, and the discussions will focus on ceasefire terms in Ukraine, with the reports indicating that the previous talks have been positive and solution-based. However, these are concerns that a proposed settlement may have favored Russian interests at the expense of Ukraine's sovereignty and the support of its European allies. And the outcomes of these talks could have profound implications of the region's stability in international relations. So again, there's a lot going on in the world here. I want to make sure you guys see on my screen here. I'm working on my travel pack, so I want to make sure that I'm giving you guys the same level of quality as if I was back home. So basil hating, when I used to drink and have my old fashions, was one of my favorite in making my old fashions, no less. So the French Prime Minister has committed on the European Union's proposed tariffs on American bourbon, suggesting that they may have been a mistake. This indicates a potential shift in the EU's approach to trade tensions with the United States. Now, what's funny about this, or rather ironic, I feel as though that Donald Trump, he's been very strategic in the way that he's going about imposing tariffs, whether it be Canada, Mexico, and now the EU, they're being more emotional in their response. And a lot of them are retracting the large amounts of tariffs of 25% that they have imposed. Now, when all these other countries from the EU have imposed tariffs, Trump has doubled the 25% tariffs to 50% tariffs because, again, America is the hub. America is the center part of all of the imports and exports because, one, America is the largest consumers of the world. So, again, if you don't have anyone consuming your exports, then you're not going to receive the amount of money that you usually receive. And a lot of things are going to rise because, again, the demand is low. No one's buying it. So you're going to have this very, very large supply. So now sell these items and products at a very, very low price, at a very cheap price. Because, again, if America is buying the majority of your products and your countrymen are not buying it, you're going to have a very large supply. So, again, they basically stated that we made a mistake. We shouldn't impose these taxes because, again, this is Donald Trump. They're having all this controversy between these liquor companies because I don't know if you guys are aware that in Canada, they was retracting alcohol from the shelves. They were taking American alcohol that they already purchased from the shelves. How asinine is that? Again, that's like one of those knee-jerk reactions that no one really thought about. Again, very, very emotional in their response altogether. So again, I have no idea why they would even do such a thing. Okay, with these tariffs on American bourbon, and again, they're retracting their statements, but nonetheless, such a stance of this could pave the way for renewed negotiations and a de-escalation of the ongoing trade disputes. Um, and again, I kind of covered this prematurely of the tariffs that we have been debating with Canada. Excuse me with this again. Since I'm working with my new computer here, a lot of things are popping up. Okay, a lot of things popping up. Now, I'll just keep continuing there with the graphic because when it comes to Canada, there's an ongoing debate whether the U.S. tariffs are driving manufacturing back to Canada. Some argue that these tariffs make American-made products less competitive, potentially benefiting from Canadian manufacturing. Now, this situation underscores the complex dynamics of international trade and the unintended consequences of protectionist policies. Again, none of these countries' GDPs are large enough to really compete with the three top countries when we're talking about GDP, the power of their military, like America, China, and Russia. And the funny thing about it is, on paper, we're not friends with neither one of them. We're trade partners. And that's pretty much it, because as people will look at China, a communist country, a dictatorship, people will look at Russia, even though on paper, Russia is not a dictatorship, but a lot of people will argue the fact that Putin has really positioned himself, have done some very heinous things in order to keep his reign on power in the country. So these are some of the things that we must look at with these all together. Now, in a rare move, the Pentagon has deployed a Navy destroyer for a mission along the U.S. border. And this deployment is part of the administration's efforts to bolster border security and address concerns about illegal activity. Now, the use of military assets in domestic border enforcement raises questions about the appropriate roles of the armed forces and civilian agencies. So, again, there's a lot going on in the world. And America, we're at a very critical point. Because, again, I wonder, are we moving too fast with the very vast changes that need to happen? I'm not stating that these changes do not need to happen. And a lot of people are going hard at Donald Trump, and I can understand why. But again, I'm not privy to the information or the insider knowledge that has been revealed. I will say that all the transparency that we're receiving, if this is a hoax, then there's a very large hoax, because again, with the Department of Government Efficiencies and the reports they've been making, and then there's been some controversial news reports about Doge, and they not revealing certain information about the investigative reports that they're supposed to be having. So again, these judiciary federal judges can go in and check. I'm gonna keep you guys abreast of that as well. And of course, if you're new to Black Logic, please subscribe to the channel, hit the likes up button, as well hit the notification bell so you are aware every time I go live or post the video. Now, last but not least, the Treasury Secretary, Stephen Mnuchin, had referred to the recent stock market drop as healthy. He suggests that such corrections are a normal part of market cycles and not necessarily indicative of underlying economic problems. Now, I know a lot of people who are about to retire, a lot of people who have stocks like myself, stock portfolios. I have lost in the past month, I've lost, I think, roughly around $10,000. Now, of course, some people are saying they lost $50,000, $100,000. And he's basically calling this healthy. That again, he believes that the stock market is going to bounce back and break records like it always has done. If we ever look at the history of the stock market, from my recollection, the stock market, or one of the first stock markets, started back in 1531 by the way of Belgium. You guys can look that up. But people have also noted that another stock market in America happened around 1526, 1619, okay, with one of the world's most profitable commodities, okay, people. That's what I'm referring to. But what backdate people is the Belgian stock market of 1531. But we're looking at a significant drop in a lot of people's 401k, a lot of people's retirement. So again, if you're close to retirement age, this is not the time to withdraw from your 401k, whether it be Roth or traditional, because the stock market did take a tank, but a lot of economists, as well as the Treasury Secretary, stated that this is important for the economy. This is going to help the stock market to bounce back better than it was before. So I thank you guys for joining me here early this morning. We're here. Let's see. It's 7:25 p.m. Again, that's another hint. This is kind of let you guys know. And for you guys just tuning in, I'll show my screen here just so you guys can see the city. And you might see some, let me get this off your screen here. There we go. That is what I'm looking at. That is the city where I'm at. All right. That's pretty much it. You guys have a great and wonderful day. This is Black Lives.